Driving, Jeff Koinange live. And here, speaking of driving, this is the future of Kenya, I think, in my opinion. These two young senators, Senator Johnson Sakaja, Nairobi County, Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr., Makueni County, as they count their new notes on Budget Day Eve.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
About the notes?
Yeah.
This is my first time to see them, actually.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So, niache.
Bro.
Please.
Actually, looks like.
What do you think?
It looks like the yen.
Let me see.
Looks like the yen, but the governor has actually put his name as opposed to.
Yes, he signed his name.
Maybe that's
on
his signature.
this.
Signed his name on it.
Proper,
Yes.
And also euros. You know, when you touch euros, are they like euros a bit?
Yeah, the size.
The size.
Yeah. I think it's a good move. Our change is as good as the rest.
There you go.
And it could achieve the goals for which...
The goals that it was intended for, right?
Yeah.
Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You know, people keep saying that I'm recycling my guests, right? When was the last time you guys were here? Honestly, when's the last time?
I think February.
It was right after my birthday, February.
Oh.
Yeah, you
You
remember?
see?
Yeah.
That's 4 months ago.
Yes.
And it was the first time this year. But anyway, Jeff, you don't have to justify it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And many things have happened after we left.
So much.
So much has happened.
So much.
I saw you sitting next. Don't sit next
And
to
so
me.
much has happened.
Like here. I was like this.
Not like this. Please don't say anything.
Tough show, man. Tough show. But good to see you guys
likewise.
on the eve of Budget Day. And guys, let's face it. Let me start with you, Senator Sakaja.
Yeah.
Through a 3 trillion shilling budget, you know, a trillion shillings is 12 zeros.
Yeah.
I cannot even fathom that in my head. 3 trillion shilling budget.
Yeah.
And it keeps growing.
Jeff, I've consistently said that I think our economic issues in this country, it's because of the ambitious budgets we have. I am yet to be convinced that as a country we can afford a 3 trillion budget. Because that then gives us a huge deficit. We're trying to do everything at the same time. That let's build all the roads, let's give everybody steamer, let's do everything now. And that rush is what gives space for corruption, because PSs are trying to overprocure. And what it does then is that it crowds out the SMEs from the domestic market.
Yeah.
You remember the previous government, 92% of the budget was being funded by our revenue. You know, so only around 8% was being, was coming from borrowing.
Yeah.
And much less from the domestic market. So SMEs could go, you'd borrow money, those money circulating, people had money in their pockets. I am yet to be convinced that we need a 3 trillion budget in this country. If you look at a compendium of stalled projects today, you'll be shocked. You'll be shocked. And for me, that is my only gripe that I have. I support the president's initiatives. I support the Big Four agenda, but I don't think it is urgent. You know, it's important, but not everything can be done. Even in your own house, there are things you want to do, but you say, okay, this one I'll do next month. This one I'll do the month after that, etc. And that progress is continuous. You know, so I don't think a 3 trillion budget is what we need at this time, especially since look at our revenue to debt ratio, 56%.
Correct.
56%.
Meaning, give me this note.
Okay. The style.
For every thou that the government collects, 560 bob is to pay debt. And
So
then
we're
they
left
say,
with 440.
yeah, and you're left to 440. Then the Ministry of Public Service said the other day that the public wage bill is 51% of revenue. So that leaves you with a negative.
Nothing.
So utajenga barabara lini?
You have nothing.
Utajenga hospitali lini? I think we need to just relook that.
But Senator, what's wrong with borrowing? Because there's some critics who say you need to borrow in order to grow.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Well,
What's wrong with borrowing?
It's not what is wrong with borrowing. It's how you borrow, and in fact the way we are borrowing. We have consistently asked the question as to why we have crossed the 50% threshold. When it was at 48, the governor of Central Bank was at our finance committee and said we are on the brink. We moved to 50, and then to 51, and we are at 56.
Yeah.
And therefore, it's not so much the way you borrow. Remember the question about Japan, because their ratios are much higher than ours. But it's about our credit rating. What are you borrowing to do? It's like the borrowing that was done by Greece. You borrow to finance disposable income. Are the infrastructure projects you are attempting to do creating growth? are they? What exactly are you anticipating to do? Because I need to be convinced about the plan, for example, of borrowing for the standard gauge railway. What was it supposed to do that has not been done? The other day, there is a report that is saying that it is much more expensive to put your cargo on SGR than put it on the road. Yet the marketing tool for SGR was that it was going to be cheaper. So what is it that you are dealing with? Now, what are we borrowing to do? In fact, in Kenya, we are now borrowing to pay more borrowing. What you say, you dig a hole to fill another hole.
Right.
But Sakaja is right about the budget. Are we over planning so that we look like we are doing well? Are we having a balloon of something? Or is it deliberate? Sometimes I think it's deliberate.
And that balloon might burst one day?
Well, it burst one day. But some of it is deliberate. I think the large borrowings and the deficits are deliberate so that it creates an avenue for borrowing. Deficit creates an avenue for you to begin borrowing. So you start borrowing left, right, and center. You know, you rob Peter to pay Paul, that sort of thing. But we have also have a very nice appetite for this, for example, the Chinese loans. Somebody commented recently from CRA that we are not borrowing from World Bank and IMF. They are looking for us to borrow from them. Why? Because their money has got a little more condition. For example, the conditional grants that they have given to a council like Makueni for purposes of doing markets, for doing urban areas. But they give it on condition. They give you 10%, they say we are coming in September. They give you another 50%, they say we're going to check what you are doing. But the Chinese loans are sweet, they give you everything you want. Maybe it's the commissions. So we must interrogate the budget. What is it that the former President Kibaki did that we are not doing? We are not doing that badly off. But are we exaggerating the fact that we are doing well? Because every time we listen to the speeches about 6.0 growth, by the end of the financial year we're at 6.3. And then all of a sudden when we sit to do the mathematics on the table, they tell us, by the way, we have no money. And we wonder.
It doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up. The statements do not make sense.
Senator, let me ask you this. You're always mentioning Wanjiko because in your county, how many wards are there? 35 wards or something?
85.
35.
Oh.
85.
Boss, where do you live?
I have
85 wards. Okay. And you, how many do you have?
30.
In Makueni?
30 wards.
So in 85 wards in Nairobi County, and Wanjiko, let's face it, you know, he is making, you know, what we call $1 a day.
Yes.
Or even less. And you know, Jeff, I always say that the economy might look good on the table, on numbers. You might say, oh, we're growing at 6%, we're growing at 5.6, this is our projection. You measure economic growth on the money in the pockets of the people. The circulation of money. How much can somebody buy with 1,000 shillings today in the supermarket? And my people, I can say, and I'm sure this is the same across the country, are really suffering. You know, today you go to supermarket with 1,000 shillings, you can hardly fill a paper bag. And that is what we need to focus on. And I hope that this budget, especially the revenue raising mechanisms, are actually Mwananchi centered, because we've put so much pressure on the common person today. You know, our traders are suffering. You're seeing what's happening to them in Gikomba, the Chinese, Nyamakima, you're being harassed by government. Today something is counterfeit. Tomorrow it is about, oh, you're on a road reserve, you're being kicked out. Let's give people a break. You know, let's give our people a break. And today the pressure on this borrowing might be our cash flow and you know how we're borrowing to repay. I pity where we will be president in 2032.
It could be you. Because it could be you.
It could be anybody.
Correct.
Because then these things are going to be maturing.
All of them.
You'll not be able to handle it.
No.
And I hope possibly those economists are thinking that these projects we're doing now will have given us benefit tomorrow. But the principle has always been that the debt burden must be shared between generations. So let's not load it too much onto the future generation. Okay, let me ask you this, Senator, and this is a story that's come out often, that at least 30% of the budget is stolen. It's gone, disappears, like Kaiser Sose.
Yes.
You know, it's gone.
Yes.
Senator Sakaja's love, he knows who Kaiser Sose is. 1/3 of 3 trillion is gone. That's 1 trillion shillings.
I've often said, and I can repeat without any fear of contradiction, that we actually plan for corruption. Means that corruption is official, is in the budget. Yeah. If you want to check where corruption is, go and find it in the budget, because where road projects are inputted, there's a factor of corruption. Because I'm still yet to be convinced why a kilometer of tarmac road is 76 million.
By the way, the Mombasa superhighway is $1 billion shillings.
It's $1 billion shillings.
A kilometer.
Yeah. So you put that in the budget, you factor in all these other things, so that the money that is going out for corruption then is finally in the budget. It's factored in those budgets.
Yes.
So you are right. It could be 30, it could be more. The fact that in every project there's a factor, every person.
They factor it in.
For example, the people who in Nairobi County and others have not been paid. Since 2013, 2014, and counties are misbehaving about pending bills. They're at 60, 70 billion shillings. What they do is that once you give somebody business, they just put a markup on it. A pen that is ordinarily supposed to cost X number of shillings, you put X plus 1, so that you factor in corruption and delay in payment.
And the money that you...
Yes, and the installments, so that it becomes really official. So this budget is like a balloon. It's inflated, it's huge, you cannot see the effect. We have done trillions and trillions of shillings. If you ask Kenyans what we have been budgeting for since 2013, you cannot actually see it. The things that Kibaki left, you can see them.
So you agree? Yeah,
I agree fully, and I'm glad you've mentioned that road from Mombasa. I kept saying that's something I will oppose completely, because Jeff, we already have Mombasa road. Yes, we have SGR,
which is quite decent. By the way, the Mombasa road is quite decent.
It's decent.
It's decent, and cars are moving. And cars are moving. And people are moving to and fro. Yes, you have the SGR. You're talking to us about 450 billion. Today, Nairobians are at gridlock. We cannot move in this city. No. And I've kept saying, and there they came with the documents about a mass transit system, which has been, a rail system. JKLIVE did it. We spent 400 million shillings. 300 came from the Japanese, 100 from Nairobi City Council. Do you know how much it will cost to do a mass transit system in Nairobi with trams and the rail? Addis did it for 45 billion. Only. What? 45 billion. That's what they did it. Just check. Google during the break. 45 billion. So even if we say, based on how we do our budgets, even if we say
double
60,
it, or double
even double it, you know,
that's 90 billion.
We'll be able to make Nairobi a 21st century capital. That you get into your rail in Dandora or in Karen, and you know in 5 minutes I'll be in town, and it comes every 10 minutes. And let me tell you, whoever becomes governor after Sonko, that is the first thing they must do. Just do that. You'll have transformed the city. Because time is money. But number two, the president was very right. When he said no new projects, you know why he said it? Because many of the PSs and accounting officers in the counties, they're only excited about new projects. Because at the time of tendering, at the time of identifying who's the contractor, that is where money is found. So once they tender, they say, this is a new one. How much am I getting? My kickback? You get 10%, it stalls. Let's move to the next project. And he said, new projects should be halted. Why are we seeing a budget of 3 trillion? We need to understand it. He was spot on, you know. And because of that, Jeff, today, in the last parliament, you brought the 30% procurement for young people, women and PWDs. Why are they not being paid? Because they're not giving kickbacks. Because they're not giving kickbacks. So these guys get money. The first person you pay, Jeff,
is that guy who's
correct in that new big project. You're not giving the young people who, I know people who've committed suicide, Jeff.
Many. And so.
Because they're not being paid. People are being auctioned, young guys. So if you give them a gift and said, you know, and imagine how beautiful it would have been if it was implemented. 300 billion moving in the pockets of young people, women, and persons with disability. We'll not be talking about crime in this country. We'll not be talking about trying to create jobs as a government. That will be the facilitative environment, you know? But what are we talking about?
And the reason is that the young people in Makueni and all these other counties don't have a bank account.
Right.
They don't have a balance like you, Jeff.
No. No.
They don't receive statements which they are proud to look at the end of the month.
Yes.
So therefore, when you facilitate them, they are able to run quickly and therefore have that idea of or process of creating that bank account that has a balance. But if you delay their money by a year, a year and a half.
12 months.
12 months.
How do you do that?
In fact, they're better off never having had gotten
because
because
it creates
expectations.
Yes, because what happens is that then, because they have made several commitments other places, they borrow in anticipation that they're going to get, they will pay back. Meanwhile, when they go to county or national government functionaries, you have to pay a portion of what you have borrowed.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So you end up even worse than when you were
before.
You know, it is open in Nairobi in the last, and I can say this with authority, in the last administration. I'm not sure if it's going on now, and I'm investigating. That you've done business worth maybe 10 million.
Okay.
Yeah, you're a young person, ETC.
Yep.
And so you're supposed to bring back 1 or 2 million. The first check they give you, and some of these banks must be investigated.
They follow you.
The first check, you know, there are banks in Nairobi, a check from Nairobi County Government cannot be paid unless somebody calls. And check is legal tender. So the first they give you 2. You go, you bring it in cash. Once you've brought it to those guys, then now you can be paid.
Then they can release.
Then they can release. So what would happen? People would come and bring that. Yeah. And then after that they're stuck. So they come to me for help. I'm like, now, you know, you're telling me first of all you've engaged in a corrupt act. And you want me now to help you and be an accomplice. But it's a sad situation.
My God.
The tears we've seen, man.
You're saying people are committing suicide.
Houses are being sold. People don't want to trade. When we are saying the economy is depressed, people don't want to do business because you don't want to make commitments. You don't want to go and borrow. The idea of borrowing so that you can do business, do you do mobilization 10%? You don't want to do it because the bank is going to charge you interest. The county is not going to pay you. When they want to pay you, they want a cut from
that accounting officer or that guy.
Accounting officer.
10-20%.
But you must. I wanted you to mention something before I forget about borrowing. The law says that when you borrow, the first charge on our account is debt. Yeah. Why is the economy depressed? Because you collect money, you give it to the people you have borrowed from.
Yes. The 560, Bob.
The 560 on the 1,000.
560 on the 1,000.
Yes.
Goes to people who are waiting for it the minute you collect it. They are waiting outside the door. It's like cash on delivery. Yes. We collect from Wanjiko.
Yes.
Somebody else is waiting. Lipa Ching Chang. You know that sort of thing. So, you know, it's like it gives to Caesar what belongs to Caesar.
Correct.
So what in the end, government is not spending. It's busy just paying debt, robbing people, you know, robbing him and giving another one.
Robbing
so since they are not spending and they're the biggest spenders, the economy is depressed completely.
Monica, please zoom in on this note, if you will. And let me ask you, senators, Madaraka Day.
Yeah.
That shocking announcement by the president, accompanied by the central bank governor, Dr. Njoroge, who I'm still trying to get on this show. I don't know why he doesn't want to come. Maybe it's his bedtime, but it's okay. But that announcement, gentlemen, were you surprised, first of all, Senator Sakaja, were you surprised?
No, I was not surprised. Jeff, on this show, I've spoken about that. On this very show, I've said that we need to do what India did. But, you know, for India, it was actually removing that denomination.
Correct. The 1,000 or whatever, it was 100 rupee.
No, there were 2.
Yeah.
There were 2.
And it was more or less instant. It wasn't...
it was immediate.
It was immediate.
2016.
It was immediate. Madaraka Day was beautiful. In fact, I want to thank the people of Narok. It was amazing. But for the first time, after the president spoke, somebody else came to speak. To unleash the thriller in Manila.
It has never happened before.
It has never happened
no
before.
one speaks after the president.
Not of the country. In fact, the only person who speaks is the MC. Magari, so now, you know, that's the only person who can. It used to be Sami Lui.
Yes.
He's the only person who would speak after the president. But I think it is a good move because there's a lot of illicit cash out there.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Let's face it.
It's
money in the mattresses, as we say.
There's money in the mattresses.
Yes.
There's money in people's... I saw some list in some gutter press. I think on that one they just named everyone they know. Because I also saw my name. I said the only money I know which is in my house. Nile maziwa ya sakumi na mkate. There's no... I've turned my house upside down to see if there's any.
Yes.
But seriously though, people have been collecting money, stashing it. And not just politicians, by the way. People of different, you know, shapes. Some of these contractors who are bringing in cash. Some of these people doing business with government. The corruption is not just, you know, corruption is not one way. It's not just the government official.
No.
It's that contractor. It's that business person. And I think this will give us an opportunity, first of all, for that money to start circulating.
It's called,
because they have to get rid of it.
Correct.
So
you have no choice.
People of Kayads are happy. Real estate, they're happy because people are booking.
Yes.
And now ukirudisha, You have to also now to explain.
Account.
Yeah. Where are you putting that?
But let me ask you this, Senator. You said India was given literally...
it was immediate.
Immediate.
In 2016.
So 4 months.
Yeah.
June to October. 4 months. You can wash a lot of money in that time.
What they are simply doing is called mopping.
Yeah.
It happened during the Golden Bug.
Bring it back.
It's mop up.
It's a mop up. You mop the system, but more importantly, even during the mop up, you want to create money in the system.
So it trickles down.
It trickles down. Everything is stuck. It's dark.
Hakuna pesa.
Hakuna pesa in the
pesa.
Correct.
Yeah, people don't want to do business. They don't want to transact because they have to be asked questions.
Yes.
But now they will be forced to go and buy a cow and maybe go and
I've heard about the cows. Yes.
Go and buy a cow, buy a shoe somewhere that you didn't need, but you still have to buy. Put the money in the system. So I don't think that, unlike Modi, was to really criminalize the idea. The idea is to just tell you, please, just bring the back money into the system, go to the bank, go and buy something. Buy yourself a shoe.
Anything.
It won't necessarily catch the corrupt.
No.
Right.
Because people are saying that was the aim.
Right.
Let me tell you, if you're smart enough to stash that money, you're smart enough to get it out.
To wash it.
Somehow. You know,
because even in India,
Forex bureaus, they're getting dollars.
It didn't actually work.
Yeah.
It didn't, huh?
No.
Not for that purpose.
Not for that purpose.
But it can stimulate the economy somehow.
Right.
It stimulates the economy.
Right. Yeah. So why is Uganda and Tanzania saying, you people don't bring your money here, we don't want your money?
The central bank wrote to them. The Central Bank of Kenya told all the regional other central banks, please tell us.
If someone comes with a stash.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good to shock the system.
Yeah.
And also, this might not look that bad. Plus, it has to conform with the constitution, which said that the new currency should not have a portrait of any individual. It should have a depiction of something that represents Kenya. I've seen the fuss about
the statue of
KICC. What's the big deal? What's the big deal?
Let me tell you, Jeff. You know, we wrote the Katiba almost in a bad mood. And it's like we have this past that we're trying to run away from. Jomo Kenyatta is the founding father of this country. And yes, that is the law, but it is not his portrait. And there's nothing wrong. In fact, in my opinion, what we should have had is to say, 50 shillings, weka Jaramogi, ama Tomboya, ingine, weka Shikuku, ingine, because these are our heroes.
Right.
All over the world, in the US, what do you call it, the Benjamins?
The Benjamins.
You know, it's all about
Benjamin
the Benjamins.
Franklin.
Yeah.
$100 bill.
We must be proud of our heritage. And having them on our currency does not say they were perfect.
Right.
Every generation has made its mistakes, but they've also had their triumphs. Yeah. So I believe, actually, that is one of the things we need to look at. We should stop running away from our past. Because if you run away from our past, we'll be lost in the future.
Yeah, but you see, what was the purpose of just creating a controversy? Because if they wanted the views of Kenyans about whether it should have a portrait, because you can argue that this is a portrait of a person, because it's actually a person. It's not the way you would have a drawing of an animal.
Correct.
The central bank never sought anybody's opinion about this. Maybe
they said they did. They said they did.
Who did they?
They consulted Kenyans.
How? On Twitter. How did they do it?
But you
see, the point is,
you can't measure.
Instead of creating a controversy, and therefore leading to what my brother is attempting to justify. So let's just say we have our national heroes. We have Tomboya. We have Mwindi Mbingu. Let's put them in our Kenyan notes. But to say that the reason we put this in the constitution is to remove Moi's image in the notes is a fallacy.
What does the actual Jeff, you should be having Katiba here.
The Katiba says it will not have the portrait of any individual.
Correct. Yeah. That's what it says.
Yeah, because so if it's not a portrait of any individual, does that include also a statue?
A statue,
so because it's a statue of
iconic.
But see, those are semantics.
That's the point.
Saying, oh, it's not a portrait, it's a sculpture, it's a statue. I'm going to the root of the issue. This, as it is, goes against what the Katiba says.
Yes.
But for me, I'm saying let's go to the actual, the root cause of why we legislated in that way, and ask ourselves, because these things are not written in stone. In fact, we're talking about amending the constitution soon.
Yes.
Was that really the right thing for us? That's what I'm asking.
Okay,
was that the right thing for us?
That's water under the bridge, gentlemen.
Not necessarily.
Can we move on?
They're in court. But I believe we should.
Yes.
Let's not split hairs about that.
Billions just to produce, huh?
No, but you see, don't use that as an excuse. Don't do something that is wrong and say, but it's cost us this much to do it.
Okay.
So ideally, we should have actually questioned ourselves and done soul searching. on whether that is the best thing for us.
There was no reason for central bank to put us in this sort of situation because the 2010 constitution is now 9 years old.
Yep.
I mean, if they were consulting for the last 9 years and still end up in this quagmire, then we are stuck. Because if we agree, let's have portraits of our. We can name them, whoever, the Kapunguria 6, for example.
In fact, the Kapunguria 6 would be good.
Kapunguria 6 or our Big Five. Whatever it is that we as Kenyans identify as symbols of national unity, then we put them there without creating this controversy.
Jeff, we love lions, but they didn't give us independence, surely. and there's no elephant that was part of Mama.
Right.
You know.
Yes.
I mean, they're part of national pride. It is.
No pun intended.
But let me tell you, the greatest resource in this country is not our animals or our gold or what is under. It's the people, the resilient spirit of our country. You know, even if it is saying, let's remember Dedan Kimathi and the Mamao people, put them. But let's stop running away from our past. Let's confront it so that we can look at the future.
You know, but again, if you're going to have portraits of individuals, we politicians give ourselves too much credit for nothing. Because I think even the people who do our marathons, who give us a national image, people possibly we should find. The point is that if you're going to have a portrait of an individual, we should agree. Let's have because this sort of thing then is misconstrued. Yeah. And then when it is misconstrued, the interpretation is given wrongly. But the idea of having a new note with the portrait or a symbol that you should either have parliament or something else.
But you know what Bob Marley once said, right? You can't please all the people all the time, right? You can't.
Yeah, but it's not a question.
Some people will be pissed off.
It's not a question of.
Some people will not be satisfied. You put Eliud Kipchoge or Kipchoge Keino, there are some people who will complain. Where's our guy? Where's that guy? You know, it's all relative.
No, but we can agree as a country. We don't have to agree, all of us, but we can agree that from Jeff Koinange to somebody else to Kasavuli or whoever, just agree.
I'd love to see my portrait on a note.
What with smoke and a fire extinguisher?
Fire extinguisher up on my note.
Yeah,
and it's called legal tender.
Legal tender, you know. I mean,
gentlemen, let's take a break. Come back. Talk about politics in Kenya. I know you guys have ambitions. Obviously, you have ambitions. I can see you as Makueni governor in 2022. I can see you. Kibwana can't run again. Obviously, we
can all see that.
We can all see that, right?
All see that.
And you,
definitely.
You're going for the ultimate seat at some point, man. I'm telling you. And when you get to presidency, I'm still here. But before that, there's another step.
I'll be told I'm hiring old people.
That's what we're talking about, folks. These two dynamic, young, brilliant senators who give us hope for the future of this country, despite our politics, despite our negative ethnicity. These two guys, different parties, but they come together and they speak as one, and that's what we're talking about. The future of Kenya is right here in these gentlemen. Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is JKLIVE. JKLIVE takes a break. We'll come back. Plenty more ahead. Stay with us. We are back in a moment.